Hello, I'm just at a pre-qualifying tournament for in southern Turkey near Antalya for kind of an ITF tournament, but I'm going to keep the tactics the same as my previous match with the Aussie forehand, the Aussie backhand front side, the Aussie serve. I might make it. The one difference is that I'm going to use a slightly heavier racket, so I'll have some kind of some lead tape at the bottom of this racket to make it to give me a bit more stability on those kind of high spin shots on the clay. So they can be kind of tricky if you're hitting it kind of a flat type of grip or kind of a low spin grip. So I might kind of use kind of backspin on my backhand with some on my forehand and serve, I'll try to keep it kind of a low topspin kind of shot. For my backhand, if I'm using topspin on my backhand, I might use a slightly different technique on my backhand compared to my forehand. So on my backhand, if I'm using high spin, I might try to keep my wrist kind of still and just kind of use my elbow to generate the upwards motion for the topspin. I'm able to use the wrist, but it might be more simple to use more reliable, just use my elbow if I'm feeling a bit under pressure in the match. So if things don't go according to plan, one option is I might just use a different racket. So I might use kind of a long-handled, small framed racket, small head-sized racket for the extra accuracy. It'd be a bit unusual, but I might give it a go. Maybe in the warm-up, perhaps to use kind of a small-headed, an old-style kind of wooden racket, because it's great for the position, precision, and to I suppose get you into the right swings for moving on to a different racket. So I might just give it kind of a quick go as a warm-up, or just as just before I do the main warm-up with my opponent. I might hit it against the wall for a second. So I'll just do kind of a topspin backhand, just with my elbow, keeping my wrist still. Move on to topspin on the other side, incorporating slightly more of my wrist on my forehand. And serves. So I'll leave it at that for the warm-up. For the warm-up, I suppose I should say. So thank you. I also was going to say that I might try to incorporate some more closed stances, put one leg behind the other on my kind of backhand and forehand to try get the extra kind of extra power for the down the line shots. Tactical wise, I was also going to try the same tactics, trying to go into the net as much as I can, or try, at least if I don't make the net, just to make the service line and try some distant volleys. I've been watching a lot of the highlights for the previous year's doubles for the French Open to try and look at the serve and volley motion on clay, and I'll try to incorporate whatever I can into my singles strategy. So thank you. Just a warm-up. Warmed up with the old racket, so I'll switch to my normal racket. Yeah.
You choose. You serve or I serve you?
Well, I'll serve, sir.
Okay.
You want that side?
Yeah. With my
Okay. too flat on the forehand and serve.
I know who the vice president is of the United States, and you're American. But I might have hit a general knowledge. That might have hit a general knowledge. Je vais lui acheter, gros. Mec, tu sais que je crois que c'est rare ces raquettes. Hein. C'est à l'ancienne de ouf.
Hi, so I lost that. I'm afraid things didn't really go according to plan. I think there were 2 sets up to 4 in each set, and I lost the games. But I'll try to learn from my mistakes. I think the first mistake I made was with the racket. So I think I didn't give myself enough time to adjust to the new racket. I was kind of training during the week, but I trained with the ordinary rackets, or the lighter rackets, and I didn't really stick to the heavy racket like I was meant to. So I already said before that if I need to switch rackets, I need to give myself kind of a few weeks to adjust to it, or maybe a week to adjust to it. And I'm afraid I didn't follow my own advice. I suppose the problem with switching rackets sometimes is that it's not just the weight that's different with the different rackets. The balance is also different between, how head heavy it is or how handle heavy it is. So the racket's kind of different in that way as well with the swing weight. And another way they're different is with the strings. So if in some rackets I don't take too much notice of it, but they're kind of all at slightly different tensions as well. They're all around medium tension, but they're not kind of the exact same. So when you switch rackets, you're switching a whole range of aspects. It's not just about the weight. So I didn't fully give myself, as I was saying, enough time to adapt. And I think in terms my initial plan was to use the heavy racket in order to better absorb the inbound ball, because I found when I was playing with the light rackets, I'd sometimes misdirect the return, where there would be such spin on the incoming ball from my opponent that the ball would kind of go a bit too far out, not exactly where I'd intended it to go. So I felt with a heavier racket, I'd be much more able to touch the ball back, and I kind of succeeded. I felt it was much easier to redirect the incoming ball with the heavier racket, but I kind of created the opposite problem, where I now found it hard to control the accuracy on the outgoing ball. So I suppose with a heavier racket, it's kind of it's kind of a different kind of speed range. So like if you half your arm speed, that doesn't really half your ball speed, because it's kind of the weight kind of affects it differently, where it will still go maybe at 3/4 your arm speed, even if it's half, the ball will still go quite faster. So it's kind of takes a different kind of adjustment to get used to it, to a different kind of speed range. And so maybe by creating the opposite problem, I might find it easier to reconcile my past problem that I had with the incoming ball. And so it will still help my experience, I managed to maintain a few rallies with that racket, and so I managed to get a lot of them in. So it was still kind of good practice in that regard. Also about my technique. So I suppose the reason I'm taking such risks sometimes is to try and improve my backhand technique. So whenever I always get the impression that my forehand feels more stronger than my backhand, even though when I was younger it used to be the opposite way. My backhand used to be always stronger than my forehand. It's kind of that I changed grips, and I've played with the forehand grips my entire life, whereas the backhand I've kind of changed grips kind of over the past few years, and so I've just had much more experience on the forehand grips compared to the backhand grips. And so I can't really afford to be too one-sided, because I need to rely on both my backhand and forehand to create opportunities. So I'm kind of trying to get them to an equal level as much as I can. I suppose I used kind of a continental backhand when I was younger, but I don't think I have to return to a continental just yet. I think if I keep going with the front side Eastern grips, that I'll have more power with them, and I think I'll just take me a small bit longer to fully master them. So, for example, I was kind of, when I used the heavier racket, I didn't really want to hit a flat backhand because I felt unsteady with it, so I was relying kind of on slice and topspin more than flat, even though I could hit a flat forehand perfectly easy. So that's why I was kind of desperately trying to improve my backhand as much as I could, and switching rackets was one way to do that. And but there's competition here for next week as well, so it's in the same place. So I was able to be a bit bold and to take a few risks, because I do have a few more second chance. So for next week's tournament, I'll try to practice with the same racket throughout each training session between now and then. So I suppose in terms of my tactics, I was originally intending to serve and volley. It's probably what I still want to do, serve and volley. It didn't really work out. I didn't really do much volleying in today's match, because my approach shots weren't good enough. I wouldn't be comfortable coming into the net after those shots, so I was kind of playing it safe and staying by the baseline. I think if I improve my stability on the one racket, that I'll be able to resurrect my good approach shots. So I managed to come up with a load of approach shots, and in my previous recorded match in Croatia, I was able to do lots of approach shots. So I played slightly better in that match. So I think I've identified my mistakes, but once I correct them, I'll be able to redo the same kind of tactics. I think my opponent today was able to hit kind of slightly faster than my opponent the previous week. so it's had a bit of difficulty to it. In terms of my grips, I stayed on the Aussie grip for most of it. I kind of switched to I alternated between topspin and on some games and flash on other games, because he was very extremely good at returning the shots, and I wasn't exactly sure whether to take higher risks using flash. I was kind of played safe on topspin, but then might mean he'd have a better ability to hit winners from anywhere, because he was that good. So I wasn't quite sure which one to stick to, but I got a bit of practice on both slices, I suppose. Towards the end, I knew that I'd kind of already lost by the last kind of 2 games, so I decided I'd kind of experiment with other grips, not so much to try and get a comeback in this match, but only for my preparation for next week, to give me any ideas. So that's kind of another factor. If you're losing, if you've nothing to lose, I suppose it might be one thing to just do a few experiments, just to get your head around for the next week, to see if there's anything else you could do. So I kind of practiced. For my second last game, I was using kind of topspin, and I was using a Western grip, and an extreme Western grip, and kind of a rear side Eastern corresponding grip on the backhand. But in my last game, I think I used a 45-degree Eastern instead of the 22-degree Aussie. So I think the Western helped me with the topspin, but it would probably take me too long to really adapt to it for next week. I didn't really have the speed that I wanted, so I don't think I'll use Western next week. I used Eastern 45-degree, but I didn't really notice a huge improvement. That they all have different advantages and disadvantages, so I won't fuss too much about which Eastern grip I use, whether it's Aussie or Eastern. But so I'll think about the exact grip for next week, and I'll try to stick to it. I'll probably my shoes. I might choose kind of an Eastern 45-degree grip for next week, I think, just to have a slight difference from today, to have a slightly different game plan. So I'm just for the sake of novelty, I'm going to use kind of an Eastern 45-degree grip, I think, for next week, on my forehand, backhand, front side Eastern, and serve as well. I'll use kind of Eastern for all of them, 45, and I suppose the continental side of the Aussie is kind of in between continental Eastern grip, so the continental aspect of it kind of makes it slightly slower, but it helps you with the angles, and kind of helps you with the crashiness of the shot. But I was up against such a good opponent that didn't fully work out, so I might kind of try and exploit the benefits of a 45-degree Eastern in terms of the speed and sheer power. So I'll switch to that grip. I won't just switch the night beforehand like I did today for the heavy racket. I'll ensure that I'll have it practiced in each training session between now and the next day. So I'll use the same racket and the same grip for this entire week, and so I'll have it more fine-tuned than for the for next week's practice, or for next week's tournament competition match. So so disappointing that I lost, but I was obviously trying to win as many points as I could. I suppose an optimistic way of looking at it might be to think of it. I think Nadal lost to Federer, won Wimbledon. I think he lost one set 6-0, and I think he came back to win the match. And I think they were saying it might have been kind of a tactical kind of loss in that set, or kind of a strategic loss, just conserve his energy for the following sets by just making a decision to lose, to not put in as much energy for that set. So I don't, that didn't describe my entire game. I was trying my best, but that's one way to look at it, that it didn't work out, but it was good practice for the following week. So hopefully I'll be able to have a more upbeat story for next week, or even if I don't win, I might be able to win a few more points. I think they have a nice buffet here, so I'm going to try have an adventurous food selection to help me fully recover. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to for dinner. So yeah, and just about the heavy racket. So I think I didn't give myself enough time, and it was almost kind of like the racket almost felt like a tank sometimes, a tank just firing shots out towards the fence, or towards the tram line. It just didn't have the finesse to get the heavy racket and slice them in. So I did kind of extend the rally a few times. I managed to get it kind of, my jogging kind of came back to me towards the end of the game. And hopefully, no matter what racket I use for next week, that I'll be better able to control the incoming ball from my opponent simply by having practiced with the heavy racket. So even if I don't choose a heavy racket, sheer experience will mean that I'll have much better stability on my return shot, and that will kind of help me for next week as well. Thank you.